There's a lot going on in national headlines yesterday. A hearing with the head of the Department of Homeland Security, Alexander Mayorkas, is that his name? People saying, hey, we're looking forward to impeaching you because of the border crisis. And then you've got the headlines of all of the evidence stacking up in the Hunter Biden and Joe Biden allegations of coercion and millions of dollars coming in through shell companies. So you've got that stacking up. And you also had the headline that Hunter Biden was heading into a courtroom to face allegations of improper tax payments and also pleading guilty with a diversion in a federal gun charge that apparently he wasn't even charged with. But on all of that, you then had a hearing with three individuals, including a high-ranking intelligence official, talking about UFOs, or unidentified aerial phenomenon. And one of those being David Grush, who's previously said that the U.S. government is in control of, or at least in possession of, crashed vehicles that could include crashed bodies. So which is the biggest story here? 217-629-7970. Which story do you think is most important? All right, I want to hear from you at 217-629-7970. So the Hunter Biden story, rather fascinating here because he was going into court to essentially agree to a plea deal that said that he would get misdemeanor charges for tax violations and have a diversion in a federal gun case because he was an addict who lied on a form to purchase a firearm. So when he gets in there, everybody thought, hey, this is just going to go through. But apparently the judge saw through this. And even ABC's Dan Abrams, he sounds off, kind of giving an idea of what exactly the judge was looking at here.
Plea deals do fall apart on occasion. It's rare, but they do. Just not usually for this kind of reason, where it seems like the prosecution and the defense both had not put in the language properly and had not even reached a formal agreement on a critical term in there. But when it comes to Hunter Biden, anything can happen. And I think that's exactly what happened here, is the level of scrutiny.
So again, you got the plea deal essentially falling apart. And then Hunter Biden, he had to plead not guilty because one thing the judge asked was, is Hunter facing any other investigation of, say, violations of the FARA Act, the Foreign Agent Registration Act, and all these questions of impropriety with the stacking evidence showing that, even then Vice President Joe Biden was on calls with Hunter Biden business associates, and even the FBI's documents that are indicating that a foreign agent who worked at a oil company for a Ukrainian company, saying that he was coerced by President Joe Biden. So all this stuff stacking up. The judge didn't want to give immunity to Biden for any possible future charges that could come up. So all of that's happening, but then you get this story of the UFO stuff, which was fascinating. I listened to it on in the background while I was working yesterday, and holy cow, 2.5 hours or so. If you get a chance, sit down and listen to some of it. It's remarkable. The types of crafts that were talked about, from huge cubes that were just floating, things the size of football fields, to tic-tac things moving around at all kinds of speeds and violating our understanding of physics. Real eyewitness testimony to this, but also David Grush, a top-level intelligence analyst who says he has firsthand knowledge of conversations with people who know all about the crashed craft that the U.S. government's in possession of, and it could include some biologics that they're not familiar with. But when Grush was asked, particularly, if he thinks that this is coming out of the outer space, like in extraterrestrial, one thing I thought Grush said was fascinating is he's keeping his eyes open as to what the possibilities are. He didn't say what the possibilities could possibly be, but when asked specifically if this was extraterrestrial, he said he doesn't want to say that. And I thought, well, he could be talking, interdimensional? Is he talking about things that have been on this planet for longer than our human history understands, that's actually domestic and just hidden? We don't know about it. Is it spiritual? So really fascinating stuff happening yesterday. But what's the most important story here? Is it the Biden family allegations of criminal activity and Hunter Biden's plea deal falling apart, surprising everybody? Or is it this UFO stuff? 217-629-7970 is the phone number. We'll get to your calls now. Let's go ahead and hear it. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Good morning. The Hunter Biden thing really doesn't interest me because in the end, Daddy's going to pardon everybody, unlike Trump, which Trump probably should have done. So the really interesting thing is the UFO because that really impacts the world. And I think that's much more fascinating. But I think another interesting story was Mitch McConnell. You know, I think it proves that people in their 80s really shouldn't be in politics.
What happened with Mitch McConnell? I don't know that story. Did he fall again?
You didn't see him. He froze on TV.
Oh, I didn't see
for
that.
like 30 seconds in the middle of a speech.
Well, that could have been an audio issue or something. I don't know.
No, it looked like they were concerned for him.
Wow.
They thought he was having a stroke.
I didn't see that. I apologize. I'm not familiar with that story, but let's get more of your calls at 217-629-7970. Good morning. Your thoughts. What was the biggest story yesterday? UFOs or the allegations against the Biden family?
Greg, the Mitch McConnell video, man, it looks like he hit pause.
I got to check it out.
It's
I haven't
odd.
seen it.
Yeah, he freezes. They take him in the back. He comes back out 30 seconds later and continues his thing. But, no, I'm going to look for somebody like Adam Schiff to counter this Hunter Biden story with investigations into Ivanka and Jared Kush for their deals while they actually worked in the White House.
But listen, all right, Schiff already had his bite at the apple twice, and he, got impeachments moving forward against Donald Trump on a perfect phone call, Trump says, to Ukraine about the Biden family and the allegations of impropriety, but also impeachments for, making a speech during January 6th. So, Schiff yesterday apparently said, well, Republicans are going based off of flimsy evidence. If Schiff's evidence impeaching Trump was so good, then why didn't it advance out of the Senate and actually get a conviction? So it's
I'm not talking about Trump. It'll be the Trump kids. The fact that they actually worked the White House, got deals with the Saudis, got trademarks.
I understand.
With China.
Well, listen, I understand that, and they can have a special investigation on that. That's fine. But what's going on with Hunter Biden is not just about Hunter Biden. It's about Joe Biden and the allegations that he's the big guy getting 10% of all of these business deals that were funneled through shell companies. So obviously, you've got some concerns here spanning across the spectrum. We'll see just where it goes. Good morning. You're on WMAY. What's the biggest story from yesterday?
Oh, 100% Hunter Biden and the Biden family. If a tenth of it's true, they are treasonous traitors and deserve to pay for what they've done. I mean, the flimsy evidence, I don't call FBI and IRS whistleblowers flimsy when they're swearing under oath. You never had a single person talk about Trump like that. Nobody went under oath. And when they did, it was behind closed-door meetings, and then Schiff was coming out, Schiff was coming out saying that something was said, and then it turns out that it was never actually said in the meeting. He was lying to the public.
Yeah,
and that's why they're trying to censor Schiff.
Yeah, the nickname Shady Schiff is an interesting one. I appreciate the call. Guys, I got to take a quick break. I will be back, and we'll get more of your phone calls, I promise. Right now, though, 7:49. It's a hot one with triple heat index out there, so be safe, all right? All right, so let's take a quick break and come back with more of your phone calls. Let's get your calls at 217-629-7970. Which is the bigger story? The UFO hearing with experts saying that there's something out there. We didn't see any, they didn't bring an alien out and lay it on the table and say, this was from a crash that the Vatican captured out of Italy, or any kind of pictures of these huge cubes in an enclosed see-through sphere that are just floating there that commercial aircraft are getting close to, and or is it the UFO stuff? Or is it the stacking allegations against the Biden family over questions of criminality and also Hunter Biden's plea deal falling apart yesterday? He ended up having to plead not guilty to the charges because there's possibly more charges down the pike for Biden. And if he has, charges that are possible for FARA violations, is that going to implicate his father, the current president of the United States? Fascinating. Which is the most important story here? Let's get your calls at 217-629-7970. Again, 217-629-7970. That's the phone number where you can sound off. Some of the comments on YouTube. Poor Hunter. His case got slapped down by a judge. Aliens remains, are they real? Show me the remnants. I want Will Smith to come back and get the aliens. Shifty Schiff. That's another nickname for Adam Schiff. Saying that they're all grifters. But let's get your calls at 217-629-7970. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I think the story was Hunter Biden of the UFOs just because of his dealings with Burisma, his taxes, the gun issue, everything else with him. And we know the bottom line is about his dad. And they're going to do they try to do everything they can to keep the story pushed down. But it was time, a long time ago, to expose Hunter's dealings.
Well, they knew about the laptop in October of 2020 before the election. And they had, these 51 current and former intelligence officials put out this letter saying it's Russian disinformation, allowing that circular reporting for Biden then to use that during the debate with Trump. And they suppressed the story. And then afterwards, after the election, they're like, oh, there's this story about Hunter Biden's laptop. It's pretty remarkable. I appreciate the call, 217-629-7970. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Yeah, Hunter Biden is like a torn thread on a sweater at the bottom. And when you start pulling on that, it's going to lead all the way to the top, to Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, just like Michael Madigan. It's all going to unravel. That's why this is happening.
Why do you think the corporate media seem to be just so kind of nonchalant about saying, oh, this is nothing. It's just Hunter Biden. He's a drug addict, and the Bidens love his son.
They all work with Stephanopoulos. All of them news anchors have worked for the State Department. That redheaded broad, she was Clinton's Secretary of State spokesman. I mean, they all work for the Clintons.
She was Biden's spokesperson as well. You're talking about Jen Psaki. You're essentially saying there's an incestuous relationship with the corporate media and the government establishment. And I think that people more and more are starting to see that, especially as they are online in a more unfiltered environment. However, we're learning more and more that online environment is very much filtered, with the social media companies getting pressure from the likes of the FBI to suppress a story that could show the FBI didn't do its job in investigating corruption. So, you can't make this stuff up. You just, if you can't laugh about this stuff, whew, it can really do a number on you. Especially when you start thinking about our monetary system and this thing called Fed Now and this thing called, a central bank digital currency, and what happens if Brazil, India, China, and others, what happens if they have a new monetary system that's going to be based on gold? Is that going to collapse the dollar? There's so much. And the war in Ukraine. Oh, my gosh.
From the Fly SPI Studios, take the easy way out.